Imagine building homes for decades, running your own company with your spouse, and drawing money from the business as you go. At your year end, your accountant simply calls those draws dividends. It feels normal until years later the CRA says your company owes taxes and then tells you and your spouse that you personally must pay the bill. Hi, I'm Amandeep Singh, CPA, and today I'm sharing the story of Helen and Tommy Schonberger and how the tax court applied Section 160 of the Income Tax Act to make them personally liable for their company's tax debt. Helen and Tommy each owned half of Grey Cove Developments, a construction company. For the years 2010 through 2013, both of them received dividends. One year it was over $107,000 each, and another year $113,000. Another year a similar amount, and the last year about $65,000. Altogether close to $400,000 each across 4 years. But you see, the company filed those tax returns late and all at once in 2013, and CRA eventually assessed corporate tax debts that added up to $245,000. The company later filed a 2014 return showing a loss, and that loss was carried back to earlier years to reduce some of the tax. But even after those adjustments, the company still owed roughly $245,000. When CRA assessed Helen and Tommy under Section 160, they argued that the company's income had been overstated. And here's why. Old supplier balances, account payable, had sat on the books for years. The bookkeeper eventually told Tommy that those unpaid balances had to be written back to income. That boosted the company's taxable income even though it was not the cash received. CRA accepted only the amounts that had written confirmation from two suppliers, about $107,000. For the rest, there wasn't enough evidence. They also argued that their work in their business should count as consideration. Since they did not take salaries, they believed the dividends were really compensation for their services. If that counted as value given back, Section 160 should not apply. When they testified, Helen explained she mainly focused on design choices and was not involved with finances. And Tommy spoke about running projects, but he admitted that he relied completely on his bookkeeper and accountant. He said he never used QuickBooks and simply signed the tax returns his accountant put in front of him. The problem was that neither the bookkeeper nor the accountants came to testify. You see, so no restated financial statements were also produced, and aside from some general ledger extracts, there was little hard evidence. On the other side, CRA appeals officer explained how she handled the company's objections. She said CRA only made adjustments when the taxpayers provided proper documents. Two suppliers had written confirmation, so CRA reduced income by that amount. Everything else stayed in because there was no proof. The judge carefully walked through the facts. The company clearly transferred property to Helen and Tommy in the form of dividends. Because they were spouses and the only shareholders, they were not at arm's length from the company. Canadian courts have long held that dividends are a distribution of profits, not payment for services, so they don't count as consideration for Section 160. And when it comes to the size of the debt, CRA had already reduced it where evidence existed. And applied the 2014 loss carryback. Beyond that, Helen and Tommy did not provide the documents or witnesses needed to show the debt was lower. In the end, the court dismissed both appeals. Helen and Tommy were held jointly responsible, unfortunately, for the company's $245,000 tax debt plus costs. The lessons are clear. Dividends and salaries serve different purposes. If you want your work to count as payment, it needs to be structured as a salary or at least management fees and not a dividend. Evidence is everything. Supplier statements, AP aging reports, and testimony from the people who created the records can make or break your case. Loss carrybacks can help, but you need CRA reassessments and schedules that clearly show how the loss was applied to earlier years. And late filings leave you with weak ground when memories fade and documents are missing. At Cloudiverse CPAs in Burnaby, we act like Google Maps for income tax. We guide you turn by turn so you don't get lost. We help businesses set up owner pay the right way, build year by year evidence folders, and prepare for CRA reviews with clear records and the right people ready to explain them. Thanks for watching. I'm Amandeep Singh, CPA. See you in the next video.